previously.
Maar waarom zoveel kreten? Waarom zoveel geweld?
Vast treasures are hidden in the archives of the Flemish art institutes and cultural heritage organizations. But yet our heritage, arts or culture don't have a clear presence on the internet. That's a pity, because it's no longer simply cogito ergo sum.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in...
It's also online ergo sum.
Eensgezind moet je allen strijden. Eén voor allen. Allen voor één.
That's why the Flemish Theatre Institute joined the Archipel research project. The VTI has been collecting video recordings of all theatre and dance productions for years, wealth of information for future scientific research. Just imagine, it is 2061 and you're writing a thesis about Anna-Theresa de Keersmaker and her impact on the international dance world. You are confronted with stacks of videotapes, CD-ROMs and DVDs. Each of these will be obsolete in 50 years. And don't even mention obscure devices such as the hi-8 cassettes, mini-discs, etc. Those are already difficult to read today. The first of three challenges that the Flemish culture and heritage sector faces is sustainable digitization. That's why we have developed a prototype of a digital storage library where cultural institutes could place their digital objects. We would provide a practical manual for those institutes that do not already have digital copies so that they could tackle things correctly. In our model, organizations could connect their collection to the archiving platform without giving up control over their objects and records.
Amazing.
The digital storage library would only ensure that digital records keep up with fast-evolving technology, a sustainable solution. Another example, in 2014 World War I will be commemorated and schools will also cover this subject. Various institutes in Flanders have valuable audiovisual records. They include Erfgoedcel CO7 in the Westhoek, AMSAP, the Institute for Social History in Ghent, and IMVB, the Archive and Museum for Flemish Life in Brussels. Our model could bring together records from all these collections via a digital network into a portal website for teachers. Photographs, stories and films could bring history alive again, because every teacher could share their lecture with others. For example, the legendary story about the Flemish soldiers who died because they could not understand the orders of their French-speaking officers. Students could learn to understand this story in the broader political context of that period, such as, for example, the funeral of Brussels resident Lodewijk de Raad. IMVB has documents proving that the Flemish movement was already politically active before World War I. Via archive films from AMSAP, you could place the Flemish struggle for emancipation within a general social movement that began in the 19th century, with clear links even to the socialist workers' movement. Separate records could become part of one larger story. We could make the audiovisual archives of CO7, AMSAP and IMVB visible and bring them to life digitally. Our model answers the second challenge which we all are confronted with: the needle in a haystack. We developed software that could literally screen each record and collect its metadata. If our model becomes a reality, then someday we could connect parts from various collections via the network for interested target groups. Later perhaps connect to even larger networks like Europeana or Google, Facebook and Twitter. In short, all online services could bring culture and heritage to the public at large. One final example. FARO, the Flemish Foundation for Cultural Heritage, will organize its annual Heritage Day in 2012 with the theme Heroes. Imagine that a local history club would want to do something related to a local phenomenon, like Holy Hermanneke. Herman Wijns, also called the Little Priest, died in 1941 at the age of 10. And his astonishing devotion as a small boy turned his grave into a place of pilgrimage. People find comfort there. Some even speak of apparitions. Imagine the local history club would publish a virtual exhibition on its website. They could draw on items in their own archive, but using a model like Archipel, FARO could enrich their exhibition with items from other archives. The software in our model literally would understand what Herman Wijns meant and still means today, as a Flemish, young Catholic role model. You might come up with Jommeke from the famous Flemish comics in his very first public appearance. KADOK, the Documentation Center for Religion, could offer even more items if we were to dig deeper. Pope Pius X and his Eucharist Crusade turned children leading exemplary lives into role models. They had to obey strict rules such as regular church attendance and mortification. Herman Wijns was one of those children. A search would also show articles written by a priest named Edward Poppe, whose works Herman Wijns surely read. As an enthusiastic Eucharistic crusader, Herman would have read the weekly magazine Zonneland, published by Averbode Publishers. In other words, if desired, you could enrich your collection with information from other archives. The great strength of our model is what we call semantic web technology. Software that could interpret the intrinsic meaning of each audiovisual record. We could create an archiving platform that thinks and therefore makes meaningful connections. Not an endless list of search results, but an intelligent answer to what the user is looking for. Want to know more? Check out the other clips. Archipel is trying to preserve our history in a sustainable way in order to keep it alive.